Good evening, everyone. Today we are joined by Mr. Prashant Kanodia, a celebrated independent journalist who has worked with organizations like The Wire and majorly writes on subaltern journalism covering protests, human rights, and issues of oppressed and minority rights. Welcome, Mr. Kanodia. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And to begin with, Mr. Kanja, the first question that we would like to pose is what do you think is egging journalists to go so easy on the sourcing standards these days when journalism majorly means finding evidences and bringing to people hard evidences and on ground reportage? What is leading journalists today to be so easy on sourcing standards?
I think it's a very important question because to get a source and to get the information is a very difficult task nowadays. Right now, the way government is operating, it's really difficult to get a right source, to get the right information. So I think the RTI is one good option, but the aging journalists would start practicing from today itself. If they got expertise in RTI, so they'll get the basic information, not that information which definitely matters to the power, but I think it's a good start. Apart from that, having a cordial relation into the administration would be the second good option to get the right information. And definitely you are well connected with the activists, you're connected with the people who are like thoroughly working on the topic, specifically the topic which you are covering. That could be the another good option. Otherwise, I would say earlier it was very easy to get information because you have a very good access in the secretariat or maybe the government offices. But now it's completely banned. You can't get into the offices, and the information passes to the Press Information Bureau, which is a government body. So there's a huge filter what comes out. So I think RTI would be the very good option to start with.
Right. And like taking that into account, we believe that we've heard from our previous participants as well that RTI itself has somehow broken down these days where you can't collect data even from RTI. What other options do we have? And even apart from taking data directly from the government, there are various other means which journalists used to use since day back to source a story and to make sure that whatever they are putting out is correct and true. Do you think those standards have fallen down somehow?
Yeah, of course. I think I completely agree. The standards has been followed, and a problem is what you're saying about the RTI. I completely agree that RTI Act has been broken down, and it's been completely. I think they have reduced the gravity of the information which you used to get through RTI. But I think earlier what we used to do, we used to when we were not under this regime earlier when this regime was not in the power. So we used to like have a relations with the people who are inside the government. So having the insider ties can get you the reliable information which RTI may reject. Supposedly, if you start asking, posing an article into PMOs, they uprightly refuse it. You can't get information of defense teams. You can't get information of the military operations. So recently, you have heard about the Rafale, the way the Hindu started writing the NRAM, the founder, the chairman of Hindu newspaper, started writing a lot of articles related to the Rafale deal. So how did he got that information, that valuable information which others couldn't? So that is the source, that is the network you have, where you get information without filing an RTI, without people letting you know that you are working on this story. So that would be the another option. Otherwise, the way the government is operating, the way the government is dealing with the information, it's really difficult for the at least I would say the people who are starting journalism, it's difficult for them to get reliable source, reliable information on a top-notch information. I would say related to that maybe the defense or maybe something which matters for the internal security. These information you can get only having a man-on-man relation with the administration, and but I would say that's really difficult. That's really difficult to develop on a very early stage. It takes year and year time. You have to be in system for 10, 15, 20 years to develop that sense of information, and you have to guarantee that your sources are revealed in people. They are well protected. So that ethics, I think, is no longer part of Indian media, where it's really difficult. That's why I think that the journalists, people like us who have forgotten the ethics of journalism, because of them, this situation has arisen where people from the administration can't share any information with us because they are definitely fear of their job and nobody wants to share. The people, government might book them in some cases. They might get suspended, they might get terminated. So definitely everyone is looking for the security. So we have to ensure that. So we need to bring that ethics back into the journalism. So the flow should go the way it was going.
Right. And so, do you think that as an independent journalist, what is your most important tool that you bring on board? Like, would you believe that social media and the internet is your most important tool?
Social media is an important tool, but I wouldn't say it's the only tool on which the independent are reliable. Uh, Most of the independent journalists, I think, have very good network rather than people who are working in an organization. Because you always, being an independent journalist, you always work you keep very low profile. You're not appearing on the television. So to develop that sort of network, what these television channels or maybe the prime time journalists couldn't develop. So it's, I think, we have an extra edge being an independent journalist to just go around to dig some more information. And I think that's the only thing. But social media could be the only part. We get a little bit of information on social media and we can just dig it more to develop a wider angle of that story. But that is not the only source of information you get. It's just it's a good thing that the social media has come, and because of that social media, the most of the story, the monopoly has broken. What earlier it used to be, you don't have to be reliable on Dainik Jagran, Dainik Bhaskar from the rural to publish your story. People in the village areas can shoot injustice in their villages and they can just post it on internet. And being independent, or maybe not independent, but being a journalist, you can just dig it more. You can just go through the story, you can just reach out there, you can just find out the wider angle of the story. So just getting a 1 minute or 2 minute clip is a good thing, but just digging it more, I think that's the responsibility of journalists.
Right. And with the tools that the internet and social media provide, as you said, rural people and also journalists can now create stories which previously they didn't even think of was possible because of the hierarchy of the organizations. But do you think that tool is being properly used, or are important issues still being sidelined?
Absolutely. The important, whatever the important part which is happening around, it's missing. But I would say it's because of the social media, important things are coming out. Social media is very important because you don't have to be reliable on televisions, on the corporate houses which is ruling, or maybe which is operating the news channels, or maybe the newspaper. uh, I think that's a great thing, because most of the stories you will find on television, you will never find a story of a farmer, or maybe people who are dying in the river, or maybe the story which which matters to women, or maybe the minority rights. You won't find it. What you see on television after 5 o'clock, there are two Maulanas, two Pandits fighting for some, I think, vague reasons. Like, it doesn't matter to nation. So because they know, they are not into the news industry, they are into the entertainment industry, and I think they are serving what people are consuming. So once we as a reader start paying for the news, we what we are doing, we want the consumption of news is free. We want news should be served free in the plate. So when the Ambani, Adani, or maybe some other corporate house will start paying for your news, so their interest will be protected. So moment you start paying for the news, if I decide to pay a 10 rupees every day, or maybe 20 rupees every day for the news, what I'm consuming, definitely if the organization is ad free, not under the pressure of corporate, so definitely they'll be working. I often say this कि इंसान को मालिक के प्रति वफादार होना चाहिए. So when people start becoming malik of news channels, So at that point everything changes. So news channels को भी वफादार होना पड़ेगा for people.
Right. So, do you think paying for news is the ultimate solution?
That is only the solution right now what we have, because we if you talk about in West, I don't know what happens in West, how they are able to operate such a big media organization without fear of government. But in India, the paying for the news is only the solution. Start, I would recommend, I would say, I would appeal to the readers, start paying for the news. Don't let this corporate house pay for your news. When you start paying news, you get the information what you want. Not their interest would be protected. When the bulldozer will be bulldozing your house, your juggies, these these people, these organizations, these news channels are binded to go there and cover your story because you are paying for the news. Right now, you're not paying for the news. That's why they are protecting the interest of corporate houses. That is the only solution. I would say that could be one of the solutions. That is the only solution right now.
Right. And so I've been like I agree with your point, but I've been thinking a lot over it as to how does that work in a rural environment where people see news or paying for news as an extreme luxury because they are still sustaining their lives. So how does that how like what model would work there? Is paying for content still a viable model in the rural areas?
I don't think it's right now very viable step if you talk about the rural India. But people are paying for the news. They pay for that newspaper, whatever they get for 5 rupees or
Mm,
maybe the 10 rupees. So at then they are paying for the news. But
mm,
what happens? This newspaper or maybe the organization has increased this their operational cost. I think being a journalist, you don't earn that much.
mm,
You don't have that much of liberty or maybe to spend lakhs of amount on your luxuries. But if
mm.
you start looking at the editors or maybe the anchors nowadays, they actually live very lavish lifestyle. So definitely whatever you are paying, so your salary is going in the pocket of these people who are like living a luxury life. Earlier it was not. Earlier we used to say एक जर्नलिस्ट अपने जीवन में एक 1 BHK का मकान नहीं खरीद सकता. But these people having a mention in the Lutyens, how does it possible? So people are paying for news, but they have to bitch, they have to increase. Nothing is free in this world. So not a
Mm.
information is free. So you have to sacrifice a bit. I think not a 5 rupees, but you can increase the newspaper for 15 rupees. People can spend 15 rupees if they want to get the right information. Otherwise, it's a waste paper. It's just a PR copy which is circulated in people to propagate the government agenda. So I think if you start selling newspaper for 25 rupees, what's matter? People who like want to consume a good information, they'll pay for 25 rupees. Otherwise, they won't pay. They are not under the impression that government will misguide them with their 2 rupees of newspaper, which is filled with the agenda of government.
Right. So these agendas of the government and all the narratives that are available widely on the television and also in the newspapers these days, I believe has led to massive polarization in the country and the world for that matter. It is a global phenomenon which we are talking about. What do you think has led to this polarization, and can media help reduce this polarization?
No, media is not reducing it. Media is actually increasing it day by day. Whatever the polarization happened and whatever the repercussion of polarization, what we see every day in newspaper or maybe it on television or maybe on internet, it's because of this television. Because if you talk about the web journalism, what the website or maybe the app, which are like the backbone of Indian journalism as of now, they have a very less penetration in village
Mm,
areas or maybe the rural areas. This television plays a very wider role. TV is still very a popular mean of communication in the rural area. The government knows it, so they are just pushing all their money to propagating their ideas or maybe the ill ideas. I wouldn't say it's ideas, the ill ideas, which is like actually it's more dangerous than any pandemic. The television is actually serving. They are actually working as a waiter to serve those hatred in the rural areas. People looking at the television, and the problem is what? in urban areas, we people, we are like well aware of the technology. When we look at the television, we judge their intention, we verify those information. But in village, in rural, they don't have cross verification mechanism. So that's the problem. So when they look on television, they say TV पे दिखाया है तो सच्ची दिखाया होगा. So these sort of ideas, it's problem, but I think it's that myth that TV पे जो दिखा रहा है वो सही होगा, or maybe whatever is printed in newspaper is truth, is being uh, uh, rejected and by the rural people, and it has started. I was in rural areas for 5 day visits in UP, and I've seen people have started cross questioning them. I've seen them cross questioning the media, or maybe when the channels comes to ask them any questions. So definitely they ask questions. So the way they are covering this farmer protest, people know, people of Punjab, they are from the rural areas, how they are shouting Godi media. They started countering it. Slowly and gradually it will happen, but it will take time, I think.
Right. So why isn't the media industry as a whole, or other members of the media industry, calling out these players or these members of the industry? Why isn't there inter-industry scrutinization of sorts when the media houses are using their mediums to spread hate, propaganda, and polarization?
I think most of the channels, I cannot propagate on the idea of regulating these channels. They need to get self-regulated. Self-regulation is the only tool which can help this Indian media. But I think there's a huge problem with the media, because right now, earlier, when we look at the emergency, when it happened in 1977, many people tried to publish in newspaper despite of the government order, and that their electricity was cut down. Because despite of that, they used the non-electric printer to publish the news. So I think earlier it was editor driven. It was a will of editor to publish a news. Now it's owner driven. Owner is taking charge of all the news which is going on screen. So who are these owners? These are not the owners who are into the news industry. They are not into the business journalism. They are into the business of journalism. They are into the business of oil, petroleum, real estate, or maybe the agro products. So why they have created this media, why they are investing in media? Definitely to work with the government, because government wants media to propagate their idea, or maybe to penetration of their thought process. So these channels are actually are just a league of corporate houses which are into multi dimensional industry. So to protect the interests of real estate, to protect the interest of agro farming, or maybe to protect the interest of petroleum industry, they are likely operating this media channels. If you look at the figure, if you start looking at the balance sheet of these news channels, all news channels are suffering huge loss from last 10 years. They are into a massive loss. Despite of massive loss, they are still operating. How can it be possible? So definitely there is some vested interest which is like uh, pushing money into this industry just to keep their all business surviving. To Ambani wants its petroleum industry, its Reliance Jio should flourish. That's why he's putting more money in network 18. And network 18 is in massive loss. So how can a loss-making businesses been operative for 10 years? Many channels got closed. Many channels are on verge of closing. They are just removing their employees. But these are flourishing just because they're all monies, whatever they're getting from the money from other industries, because of the government tendering process, the way government is helping them, giving them a coal blocks in Australia. That is the reason this organization flourishing and being used as a tool of a government to penetrate hatred and their propaganda.
Right. So when you say that the journalism or the media industry is becoming a tool for propaganda or just a mouthpiece for the government, do you think that freedom of speech still exists in India?
It's a big question mark, I would say. It's written in the constitution, but it's a debatable topic, because freedom of expression exists it does not exist. It's still on the discussion table. And if you start looking at the freedom of press index, so India ranks 142. So can you imagine a country which claims on a world podium that it's one of the largest democracy in the world, having a press freedom index on 142? So it itself an indication which says India is a democratic country with a question mark, because world need to rethink about it. So when we go out, when our leader go out, when they use this sentence being coming from the land of a world largest democracy, so the whole people on the other side should start countering why the press freedom index of your country is on 142. Why people like Varvara Rao, who was just a poet, is in jail? Why Father Sten Swami is in jail? Why Umar Khalid is in jail? Why Sarjil Imam is in jail? Why Asif Iqbal Tana is in jail? They are not criminals. They are not terrorists. They haven't used any arms and ammunition to hurt anyone. Their offense is that they speak, and when speaking lands up you in jail, so it clearly says that freedom of expression exists, but still under the question mark, under the threat of this government who doesn't believe in freedom of expression.
Right. This reminds me of the of that line from Chicago 7, the trial of Chicago 7 I saw on Netflix, where the actor very powerfully says, "Please hold on, mate." While he was on trial, he was at the desk, and he very powerfully said, "Please wait. This is the first time I'm on trial for my thoughts." And I believe that is something which is happening across India and the world for that matter, where journalists are being jailed and given death threats left, right, and center just for penning down their thoughts and bringing out the truth for that matter. Uh, but that is the role of a journalist, right? They are there to bring out the truth and also to move people towards a particular motion to bring out the best in humanity. Do you think
I would
that?
like to add on. I would like to add on one thing. People often say this:
Hmm,
you have to be very unbiased journalist.
yes.
I think being unbiased is very difficult. It's very
Hmm,
dangerous for a journalist. How can you be unbiased? There are two sides. There's a one good side, there's a bad side. You have to choose one side. So there is a government, there is a public. You have to choose one side. So when you are with the public, definitely government will not like you. When you are with the government, definitely you are a Godi media. So you have to choose your side. And being a pro people, pro oppressed minority, and pro women, pro Adivasis, pro LGBT is a good thing. You have to be biased. How can you be unbiased journalist? Unbiased journalist is nothing. It's just a notion which doesn't exist.
right, and that actually brings me to the next question very well. Is that, do you think every journalist at some level is an activist?
There are two type of people in journalism industry. One is a media worker and one is a journalist. So I would like to differentiate.
Hmm,
So when you are a journalist, you have some spark of activism in you, because you are talking about people. So when you talk about people, you are a self-declared activist. Just because you're writing for some publication doesn't make you different. You
hmm,
are not nothing like, you're not like a common man who is just working doing his job. You're talking sense. You're talking about people whose voice should be amplified. So they definitely, when you're a journalist, you are an activist. It can't be, you can't just separate these both words. You are together. And after like when the social media has come into so has become so big, so every activist has started writing. Earlier it was you just go, being an activist, you go, you shout slogan, you just come back. Now you write everything on Facebook or maybe the Twitter or maybe other social media channels. So writing a thing which is like amplifying people's voice is a journalism. Other than you could be a media worker, media karmi, what we say, media karmi. You're doing just a normal job. It doesn't matter. You're just a crew member of a film set where there's an anchor who doesn't know anything, just coming. I don't know why like these people are hiring people from journalism school. They should start hiring people from FTII or maybe LSE. These people should be a good actor. They are just reading the script, whatever they get. They are not just applying their own brain, or they are not just thinking from their heart. They are just doing their job to just draw a good salary, whatever they're getting in their account, to like live in a luxury life. I wouldn't say any name, but I know a lot of journalists who has a 80 crore rupees bungalow in Delhi, 26 crore rupees bungalow in Delhi. So how is it possible? A journalist can't own so massive amounts in his life. It's something else. It's a PR. A PR or ad guru can earn this sort of money, not a journalist, I think.
Right. And you said that the journalism should be a mouthpiece not for the government but for a mouthpiece for everyone. It should be a reflection of the society. Do you think that the marginalized is being covered enough in today's media?
I think I would deny that because, and there's also a bit very thin difference between it because when you look at the news of minority oppression or maybe the news which is like atrocities on Dalits and Adivasi. So when you look at the news, when the Dalit women is raped, it is covered in a two column, three columns. When the Adivasi is beaten, it is covered in two, three columns. So everyone loves atrocity news. They don't deny it. They love, but they don't. What they don't like is uprising of minority and oppressed class. When there's an uprising among the minority community or maybe the oppressed community, so they start demeaning them, calling them anti-national, or maybe the nationalists, or maybe the terrorists or whatever. So uprising is a problem. News is very, when you go in the news organization, when you look at the farmer is doing suicide, oh, it's so sad, farmer are doing suicide. When they're protesting, you call them Khalistani. So this is the problem. You like crying farmers, you like beaten Muslims, you like that the raped women, but you don't like the uprising of those people who are under threat, not from today, I would say. Still, the world has created. When the world existed, the people who were not in power, beaten up. The history is full of atrocities. I think people should understand the difference between the uprising and the atrocity. They love atrocity news, but they don't want to cover the uprising, which is very important.
Right, that was a beautiful insight, something to really take away from. And I would like to ask you a question which is a little off from whatever we've talked as of
Hmm.
now. You've written for vernacular papers like the the Wire Hindi. You were a part of that, I believe. How is
Right.
vernacular making a difference in today's media and even in print for that matter? What role is vernacular playing?
I think vernacular language is very important. I come from a non-Hindi background. I come from Mumbai, where the language was Marathi, and I started learning Hindi from 2016.
Hmm.
So the main reason coming into the Hindi journalism was to just I want to ensure that my voice should reach more people. I just don't want to be a journalist of a Luthians who just want to influence 2% of people of country or maybe the decision making. I wanted to always wanted to be a voice of people. Always wanted that I should be read by the people. The news matters to them most. The protest or maybe the farmer suicide or maybe the atrocity, whatever news. So I think vernacular is very important. And if you start looking at the stats, so only 2% people read the English news in India. Most of the people read the vernacular. If you go in Maharashtra, you will hardly find people reading Hindi. You will hardly find people reading English. They read Marathi. You go in Tamil Nadu, Hindi newspaper doesn't exist there. In South, it doesn't exist there. So vernacular is very important. I think English news organization are doing a little bit good in comparison to the Hindi because these people who are coming into the English organizations or English newspaper or with the publication. Uh, Specifically, I'll talk about the newspaper because news channel is something very similar because it's a TRP game. So you work on a TRP game because no administrator or maybe no IS or IFS officer looks at the news channels. They always read newspaper. So news paper, if you start talking about the English, they are a little bit good, but I think Hindi is horrible. Not from now. If you start looking from the Babri demolition, if you have someday any time, you just take out the newspaper from the archive of Babri demolition, start looking at the headlines of Hindi newspaper and English newspaper. So you can easily make difference how this vernacular, specifically Hindi organization are working. They are just part of this patriarchal caste society, and the way they operate in their society is the way they are operating in in the news channels, the news organization, or maybe then whatever they're publishing. The structure of this newspaper matters, and they don't have diversity. They don't have people from all the background. A sports editor is writing a political piece, doesn't make sense. So there is no beat for labor. There is no beat to cover the climate or maybe the environment. So there's I'm talking about the vernacular. English organization started a little bit covering labor and maybe the environment. But in Hindi, there's only one man who knows everything. In vernacular, they know everything. A person who covers the sports writes for everything. He writes for Trump and uh, Joe Biden war, actually.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, yes, I think I can agree now that you have said this. I can compare the papers which I get at my home, and if I start comparing them, I think I do agree with your points. Uh, what are some of the steps that you think people both in urban and a rural setting can take to make sure that they always get reliable content or content that is relevant to them?
I've already told about it because I think that is the only option because I don't find any other option right now because
Hmm.
until unless somebody like Ambani thinks of very holy thought and says I am donating my whole wealth for independent journalism, so that will never happen in India. So people should start paying for the news. There are a lot of organizations like Wire, Scroll, News Laundry, Ground Report. There are I couldn't name all of them, but there are a lot of organizations. Start paying them. Ensure that they are getting paid, so they are not taking ads.
Hmm.
And you, as you said during initial time of this interview, that you are operating on that segment. Like you're not taking any ad from the corporate. You're trying to operate. You're trying to make the self-sustainable organization with the help of readers. So I think that is the only solution. Only solution right now. I don't know. Maybe in future there's something could arise, new thing where this that could be a very good option for independent journalism. But right now, people need to pay for the news. When people pay for the good food now, they want if they want good food, they have to pay. When you get a free food from the government, you could look at the quality of that. When you get things in free, you know the quality what you will get. So when you start paying for the news, you know what is the quality when you go out to buy a rice. So you know what is the difference between the 2 rupees rice and maybe the 80 rupees rice. So to get the quality news, start paying. It's just I think subscribing a good news organization which is completely dependent on the readers' money. I think 200-300 rupees is not a very big amount to get a good information. If 300 rupees, 10 rupees, I think just count 10 rupees per day, 300 rupees a month. If 10 crore people start paying 300 rupees for good information, I think 10 good organization can flourish. That is the topic. That is the only solution.
Right.
If I can't pay 10 rupees for my news, I don't deserve a good news.
Right, and that reminds me of the line that we usually put out in our marketing material, which is like, if it's free, it's not worth it. Like, if it's free,
Absolutely.
everyone has it, it's not really adding value to yourself, not to your life. It will not be worth your time.
Absolutely.
Start paying for something, you will get more, you will get an edge, and that is where you get the real insights.
Absolutely.
Right. So we come to the close of this, but before I bid you adieu, I have just three more questions, which I'll put out in a rapid fire of sorts. So I request you to answer them in just one line. Please feel free to choose a language of your choice. The first is a request to your fellow colleagues or peers.
I would request them uh, don't misguide these people of India. Start working for them. Start amplifying their voices. Don't worry about your job because I think uh, roti kamane ke liye na you don't have to be a journalist. You can be anything. You can just be a barber. You can just sell chole and kulche and you can earn money and you can do freelance. So just under the impression of like you are a journalist, you're just fooling yourself. Don't fool yourself.
Right. Second, An advice to a social media news consumer.
I think we should start subscribe good Facebook pages and good Twitter profiles to get good information, and stop following trolls. Stop promoting them. That would be, I think, least could anyone can do about it, because I don't think there could be any great mechanism to what people can follow. It's just the one thing you have to self-regulate yourself.
Right. And finally, an advice to an upcoming journalist, someone who is just starting out.
I think to upcoming journalists, they should understand this is not a glamour. This is not a film industry where you enjoy all the privilege. You don't enjoy the proximity with the power so early. So when you come into industry, you should keep in the one thing in your mind, that you are a voice of people. You're not the voice of government. You're not the speaker. You're not the person who is just working as a waiter for government propaganda. You're a people's voice. And when you come, ask questions. Whoever is in power, I'm not talking about the current government. Whenever, after 10 years or maybe 25 years, whoever is in power, start asking them questions. That is your job. If you can't ask them, you should just walk into the PR industry or marketing industry.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kanodia. It was a pleasure talking to you. Fantastic from you, really helped us. And I'm sure when this goes out to social media, people would love to hear what you have to say. And I believe a lot of us in India would agree that there is a time and there is a need for change. And I think the change is on its way. We just hope that it comes as soon as possible so that independent journalists like you can flourish and give us what we actually need, give us the truth and give us the information right on our phones. Right. Thank you so much for your time. It was.
Thank you. Thank you.
A request to your fellow colleagues, fellow journalists.
Please don't rush into a news or a tip off that you get.
Advice to every social media news consumer.
Please do a simple Google search before putting out any news, before putting out any information that you've received from anywhere.